Thank you, Program Director. My sister Tutukile, the Skweyiya family, children, grandchildren, Comrade President Cyril Ramaphosa, former President Thabo Mbeki, Mrs. Mbeki. I'm going to take the West African shortcut and say all protocol observed, and hope I have not offended anyone. It was 2 years ago, almost to the day, that I was reminded of how long I have known Zola Sidney Temba Skweyiya. We were at Luthuli House to raise some issues with the leadership of the ANC, and in a heated moment, one of the members of our delegation, pointing to herself first, said, I, Zola and Pallo, have known each other since we were teenagers in this movement. I thought about it for a second and realized that I had known Comrade Zola for close to 60 years. A modest, unassuming person who was not given to vanity, nor did he seek to project himself and impose himself on others. A man with the capacity to do his work quietly and diligently, virtually unnoticed, but the quality of his output never failed to impress. A very private person who kept many things to himself, found it difficult sometimes to share with even his close friends what he considered personal and private. Consequently, even when he fell ill on this last occasion, when I heard about it, I was rather nervous because I know Zola didn't confide easily in his friends and his comrades about his health. So I made it a point to contact old comrades and ask them to go and visit him in hospital, just by way of reassurance. Regrettably, after being discharged, he was readmitted to hospital, and this time did not come back to us. Zola and I come from the same town, Cape Town, which has its own peculiarities and I suppose different from the rest of South Africa, the Western Cape, where the African people are a minority. And that shaped much of his life. The other day when I came to pay my respects at the home, amongst other things, Tutukile remarked how surprised she was when Zola told her that Afrikaans was one of the first languages he spoke. But that, of course, is what Cape Town is like. Returning home in 1990, we traveled together from Lusaka, brief stop in Johannesburg, and continued to Cape Town, where we were given a very rousing reception by the community, all sections thereof. And I remember visiting my parents' old home, which still stands where it was built. But when we visited Simonstown, which is where Zola grew up, it was one of those very bitter moments, I think, in his life, because the township where he had grown up had callously been destroyed by the racist regime in its efforts to ethnically cleanse the Western Cape of Africans. It was one of the occasions on which one could see tears coming to his eyes. And he had a rather hard time containing himself. There were those moments of pain, there were moments of joy, but there were also a number of grim reminders to us that the struggle was not yet over. We had occasion then to visit some of our comrades, led by Tony Yengene, who were still facing trial, and they were then detained at Paulsbo prison. Growing up in Cape Town and after, Zola was given the nickname Unzwane, or Inzwane. In Xhosa, it means a handsome man. And I think the pictures testify to the accuracy of that description. Unzwane was elected to the NEC of the ANC at the first conference we had when we came home in Durban in 1991. And he won re-election to every NEC until 2012 at Mangu in Bloemfontein, where he didn't stand. But I'm sure had he presented himself, he probably would have won. One of his legacies, which I think will always indelibly be imprinted on South Africa, was his intervention when he was Minister of Social Development after 1999. Zwane had been shocked traveling through the country to discover alarming levels of poverty. And he put in place a comprehensive system of social welfare grants. And social welfare grants are not a solution to poverty, but, and I think it's important we underscore this, they do keep many wolves away from the door and at least ensure that no children go to bed hungry. That is Zwane's legacy. He was a very solid comrade, committed freedom fighter, and I would say an instinctive Democrat, and above all, a very, very good friend. Bertolt Brecht, one of the poets Zola liked, once wrote, and I quote, "Some people will wage struggle for a year, and that is good. Some will wage struggle for 5 years, and that is better still. But there are those who will wage struggle for their entire lives. They are the ones we cannot do without." Zola Skweyiya was one such person. Ulala ngoxolo torhwana, Zwane. Itutuzekele torhwana, tutukile. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Pallo.